Hi everybody, in this piano review we're going to be looking at Kawai's brand new CN29 and 39. Beautiful home digital pianos with 88 weighted notes. I'm going to be covering the sound and the tone, its piano action, its critical features, its connectivity options. I love these instruments, hopefully by the end you will too. So let's get started. Okay, so let's get into the sound. We've got the CN39 on the right, my right, your left, and the CN29 over here. And so what exactly are the differences between the two? Well, they are both using Progressive Harmonic Imaging, which is kind of Kawai's latest version of their sound synthesis technology. It's based on individual samples per note, and then of course there's synthesis happening in addition to that to kind of craft and mold the sound with things like damper noise and string resonance and all sorts of other parameters that you actually have the option to edit within the Virtual Technician engine that both of these are equipped with. So where are the differences? Well, the CN29 comes with a polyphony of 192. Now for somebody who's primarily using this for piano, that is plenty. 128 used to be the standard, then 192 was kind of pushing the limit. You see some instruments now that are getting into the 200s and even 300s using modeling, but for the purposes of playing piano, even if you're layering it with something else, 192 in my experience is plenty. The CN39 actually comes equipped with 256 note polyphony, which I guess for somebody who's going to be using this for advanced classical playing where you might have literally the entire instrument resonating, several times over, or you're just layering up, I guess that just gives you a little more room. Generally speaking, what polyphony tends to speak, or say to me rather, is it's an indication of how fast the processor is and just how much juice they've got behind this. So 256 really is another way of saying that it's just a bit of a faster processor. There's just going to be less of a delay in terms of when the sound activates, and of course there's just more headroom for it to be processing all sorts of other harmonics at the same time. So we've got 192 and we've got 256, but both fundamentally using the same individual sample set, which is of course their SKEX sample set. They've also got an SK5 and their EX concert grand, which was sort of the previous generation. A bit of a brighter sound than the SKEX, which has got a nice mix of sort of warm midtones, nice clear bright tones, and almost a bit of a Steinway-esque bass to it. Talking about the speakers that come on this instrument, the CN39 is equipped with 4 speakers, and I guess the big deal about both of these instruments is that the speakers are produced by Onkyo. Now this is an audiophile type company that produces a lot of really great gear for home stereos, for commercial installations. They're really quite well known in the industry for producing this sort of elite type gear, and this collaboration with Kawai is starting to show up in all sorts of instruments that they're coming out with. The Novus 10 has got a lot of Onkyo influence in it, and it's really cool to see it now trickling down into the instruments in this price range. So we've got 2 mains and 2 tweeters on the CN39, and that's all being driven by 40 watts worth of amplification. What's interesting is the CN29 also has 40 watts worth of amplification, but that's coming just through 2 speakers. So it's kind of 2 mains that are what they call two-way speakers, so it's sort of 2 cones within one. And that's what's driving here with the speakers facing down. On the CN39, you've got 2 lower-facing speakers, but also 2 tweeters on the back, and you can tell a difference when you're playing it. You're just getting a bit more treble and a bit more clarity in the sound out of the CN39. Now in terms of the other sounds, there is a huge difference in the number of tones that these instruments are loaded up with. The CN29 comes with 19 voices. Now All of those voices I would describe as pretty high quality, particularly the acoustic piano sounds and the electric piano sounds. I really, really like them a lot. They're warm, they're lush. Of course, there's another video where you can hear this instrument literally just being played without any talking, and so please check the link below. But over here on the CN39 side, we have all of the sounds that you're going to find on the 29, plus the entire General MIDI 2 sound bank. So that starts to bring the number of tones up close to the 300 range. So for anybody who still does some MIDI file playback, having that General MIDI 2 palette is really, really handy. You can just play it straight through the instrument and it'll automatically cue up all of those sounds into your 16 tracks. So we're going to just quickly listen to a couple of these samples just so you get a quick comparison in this video. So this is the stock SKEX concert grand sound on the 29. And then on the 39. Just a quick taste. Of course, like I said, if you want to hear both of these instruments played much more thoroughly, there's going to be another video where that's all we're doing. Check the link below. So to sum up the differences in sound and tone production between these two pianos, we've got progressive harmonic imaging on both, but a bit of an increase in the max polyphony on the CN39, 256, whereas we've got 192 over here. We also have a major difference in the number of sounds that are preloaded on board. We've got 19 over here, whereas we've got those sounds plus a few other Kawai sounds and the full General MIDI 2 palette added to the CN39, so you get into the hundreds of sounds. And then of course we have a major difference in the onboard speaker system. We have 4 Onkyo speakers on the CN39, whereas we have 2 on the CN29. So although there's not a big difference in power between the two instruments, there is a difference in the amount of clarity in the mid and high range you're going to get out of the CN39. So let's get into the action. The CN29 and the CN39 both use exactly the same action, which makes this part of the comparison really easy. The RH3, or the responsive hammer 3 action, is a design that Kawai came out with just a few years ago, and it's present on their 29, the 39. It's also present on Nord's new Grand. So this is definitely an action that has a reputation within the industry for being really accurate for one, but also really comfortable and feeling nice and authentic. Now this is not their wood key action. You do need to get into the CA series for that, or of course their MP11 or VPC1 also uses the wood key action. But the RH3 plastic action is probably the most advanced plastic action that you can currently get on the market. It uses a triple sensor, so the MIDI output on this is super, super accurate, but it also uses an escapement, or what Kawai refers to as let-off, essentially the same thing. It simulates that little bit of a tick about 2/3 of the way down the key, just to make it feel that much closer to an acoustic piano action. I don't know if they have changed this key top surface for the 29 and 39. I spent a lot of hours playing on the CN27 and 37, know them very, very well. And one thing I am noticing after having played this for a couple hours now, just to get ready for this review for you, is out of the box, the keys seem pretty slippery. So the only thing that I can tell people at home is if you are in a showroom checking the CN29 and 39 out and you happen to feel the same thing, what I can assure you with total confidence is that after about an hour of playing, that slipperiness is gone. So it seems to be some type of a coating that is on the key that kind of gives it this extra slipperiness. That goes away really, really quickly as soon as you start playing it in. Otherwise, the keys have sort of a micro texture on them. It's not designed to look like ivory, but it's designed to have the same effect as ivory, which is to give the key an opportunity to absorb some extra moisture if it happens to be there, and also just to provide a bit of extra texture. So your key or rather your finger feels nice and planted on the white keys and the black keys. So here's a quick summary of all of the specs on the action between these two instruments, and then we're going to move on to features. When you get a good look at the CN29 and 39, one of the first things you notice is that the interface between these two is completely different. If you didn't know that they were part of the same series, just looking at the control surface itself, you'd think it was a completely different line of piano. The CN39 is using a control interface, which is actually a hybrid of something that Kawai was using a couple years ago, but they've updated it with a really great higher resolution screen. So it's very easy to navigate around, understand where you are within the menu system, and access all of those hundreds of sounds and the virtual technician. On the CN29, this is a brand new interface design, both the screen as well as the key system, or I should say the button system, and we'll make sure that we get a quick B-roll of both of those interfaces into the video so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. This is very sleek, it's very intuitive, and even though there is a couple of layers of menus that you can get into, it's easy to access the virtual technician menu on the CN29, easy to access the transpose functions, the metronome functions, and of course, really, although they look different, the 29 and the 39 fundamentally offer the same range of functionality to a user. The biggest difference being that on the 39, everything the 29 can do, the 39 just does the same thing, but with about twice the number of options. One of the things that I really like about, well, Kawai generally does this very, very well, but on the 29 and 39, they've also updated the number of lesson programs that they have preloaded into the instruments that are designed to work directly with different book series. So on the 29, there are around 8 or 9 different books that are preloaded in there. When I say books, I'm talking about the material within those books are in there as reference points so you can play the songs back, play along with them, and it's really intended to be used as a companion piece to the book itself. And so you can look at the list of that on Kawai's website. We'll try and list it here as well. On the 39, it's the same list, but it's about twice as long. So you're getting a wide range of lesson options where right out of the box, the 39 kind of acts as a practice companion. Very, very handy. From a connectivity standpoint, they're both equipped with Bluetooth. Kawai has a virtual technician app. It also has what's called a sound museum, I believe is the app name, which essentially are 2 apps that allow you to remotely access functions within the keyboard. The virtual technician app, which sounds fairly obvious, is how you manipulate the acoustic piano sound in the 29 or the 39, and that's very easy to connect. The Sound Museum is essentially how you remote control the tones that you're selecting and you're playing between these 2 apps. We're going to do a separate video where all we do is show you how to connect the Bluetooth with those apps. So if you have specific questions about that and you don't feel like mucking around with it yourself, you can just check that out. But anyway, 29 and 39 both equipped with the Bluetooth. That allows you to get into those virtual technician settings, which is a ton of fun if you're an acoustic player. These 2 models also have basic recorders on board, which allow you to quickly, if you're doing some songwriting, or even I know people who use this as a practice tool. They'll play a song into it so they can hear themselves playing back, so they just get that quick feedback. Nice thing is they're both set up with basic internal MIDI recorders so that you can play tens of thousands of notes in, listen to them back, and of course you always have the option to store them onto a device or send them off to a computer where you can edit them further. In terms of the physical connections that are available on the instruments, you've got a 1/4 inch a 1/4 inch and an 1/8 inch jack for your headphones. You've got a USB connection to the computer on both that are available. And of course, we've got the connection points for the triple pedal systems that they both use. So just to sum up the functions on these two, they've both got transpose, dual mode, 2 layers at the same time. They both have the ability to do some internal recording. They both have Bluetooth connectivity. And of course, like I said, the biggest difference isn't so much that this has different functions, it's just what it does tends to have more. So there's more lesson options that are pre-embedded in, more sounds, which of course we already talked about, and then just a greater number of virtual technician settings that you have the ability to manipulate within the CN39. I would describe the CN29 as being an excellent way to access one of the best piano actions in the market for around the $2,000 mark. It's equipped with really high quality piano samples, good premium speakers on board, and a nice simple functionality. For people who are going to get a use out of the additional sounds, or they just want the best possible sound they can playing the instrument without the use of headphones, the CN39 is going to deliver that with the form of 4 speakers for sure. They also come in 3 different types of premium finishes, and Kawai really does a nice, durable, high quality wood finish. It comes in rosewood, mahogany, and a satin black. So if you have a chance to get to a showroom near you and try the CN29 or CN39, do so. I think you'll be very, very satisfied by what you see, hear, and play. And if you haven't had a chance yet, please subscribe to the channel. You'll be kept up to date of all of our newest videos and content. Thank you again for your time. Thanks for watching, and happy shopping.